There are a number of subjects I want to discuss, but the first and most important one I should get to is Brexit, so there is a chance I might not cover the other subjects that I ordinarily want to get to, because Brexit is getting very important. 16 days from leaving the EU, apparently, and quite a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks that I haven't covered over on the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show. Now, due to issues away from YouTube, I haven't been able to because streaming has been quite challenging. But I have gotten to a point now where I feel I can articulate my grievances, and we'll see how far this gets me. I do apologise if you're not interested in Brexit. I may as well say that now, just in case you want to stick around. So if we go all the way back to December, there was meant to be a meaningful vote on Theresa May's deal. As many can accept, the deal is absolute trash. It, in its form, is the strongest version of a deal with the EU. Many detractors pointing out, myself included, that it is the strongest version even though it is vague on the face of it, meaning that once it is fully negotiated, it will be even weaker than it was, and will more than likely render us unable to trade abroad, which was and should be one of the key issues going forward leaving the EU. So the meaningful vote was then held in January, and it was summarily annihilated, meaning that Theresa May had to come up with a plan B. She also had to fight a leadership battle, kind of a no confidence within her party, and then she had to fight no confidence within the government, which she won both times. Between her and Corbyn, she's the only one that's won one of those within her own party. He lost his. Still in the job though. Not sure how that happened. The Attorney General has given advice repeatedly, many complaints, and said they would vote in favour of the deal would be if the backstop could be legally made so it was non-permanent. It would only be a temporary solution, a legal assurance, which the EU originally would not give, which led to the articles many saw, where Juncker called her nebulous. But nebulous means vague, and the deal is vague, so he has a point. Dennis Skinner, the Labour MP, called Theresa May a frit, because he pointed out, and quite rightly pointed out, even though he disagrees with this all, to be honest, the Brexit part, that is. He said that we'd given the EU the power to them, we negotiated with them. That was the mistake. We legitimised their superiority, and that was a mistake. We should have sat back, sipped on our tea, ate some crumpets, and waited for them to call us. Because leaving without a deal hurts both of us. There is no version of a deal that really benefits us as well as staying in the EU. We all accept that, and yet it is seen as the one major issue, so we shouldn't leave. There are other major issues, but this is the one that's currently being thrown about in Parliament. We knew the risk. That is why 17.4 million people voted to leave. We should not have negotiated with them, they should have with us. Because the EU stands to lose hundreds of billions in a budget deficit, something which I doubt they could recuperate by dipping into the wealthier countries' coffers. That being France, who aren't doing so well at the moment, and Germany, who already put a considerable amount into the EU project. We skip ahead a little, and Theresa May brings forward a Plan B. And what is Plan B, you ask? Well, Plan B is Operation Turd Polish. She has taken the original deal, spat on it, wiped it, and presented that to Parliament. This sparked many, many debates, and understandably so, which then led to the vote being pushed back. It was meant to happen in mid-February, but it didn't actually happen until last night, which is a bit of a concern really, and we'll get to what happened there and the fallout in a moment. In Parliament, we have this one major issue. There are over 600 MPs, and the majority of them do not represent those that voted to leave, with a number of people wearing tinfoil hats saying that these people are only interested in filling up their own purses from money given to them by the EU. It's a bit, but there is a bit of a point there, a self-serving point, not the money part, in the sense that they all want, or the majority of them want to stay in the EU, which means that they don't represent their constituents fairly. It's like Scotland, or the SNP most notably in Parliament, saying Scotland voted to remain, which they did. 68% did in fact vote that way. And so they push it as if that applies to all of Scotland. But with MPs, I guess it's maybe not like that at all. The majority of those MPs are Remainers, but their constituents voted against it, so they are voting in their own interest, or because they believe they know what is best for their constituents, We all know, we all accept, staying in the EU is the safest way forward, but we do not want to be in the EU. We want our own empire again. We want to trade on our own again. Maybe not empire, but you know what I mean. We want to be independent. A sovereign nation not tied to that. Yes, okay, UN, NATO and all that, we're tied to those. For reasons. But they're not globalist governments. Or attempted governments trying to impose themselves upon a nation. Or, as you call them within the EU, a nation state. Not sure I'm okay with that, to be honest. Now last night, as I said I would cover this a bit later on, may as well do it now, there was a vote. And there was quite a lengthy discussion before it, debates, many people giving rather self-serving statements. The one that annoyed me the most was the SNP, who, rather than address it as the United Kingdom, because they're a nationalist party, decided to instead talk about how it's Scotland, all about Scotland. Anything matters, it's only about Scotland. Well, Scotland is part of the United Kingdom, a union that unironically wants to leave another union, which you also unironically want to leave a union to rejoin another union, thinking your voice should be more important than that of the other 3 nations, while simultaneously thinking not only that you'd be welcome back within the EU, but that your voices would be heard in that union. 27 member states. The UK loses on the majority of the votes it puts itself on. That's not even a joke, because our politics don't necessarily align with that of the EU. No offence to those who are pro-EU or those who vote within the EU and get what they want. But when we have no say at the table, really, we have no vetoes, we have no power, no real influence, we're just an economy, a very powerful economy. What do we bring to the table anymore? And let's face it, when we don't get what we want, the only options left are either renegotiate, which has ended badly and we'll cover that soon enough, airstrike it because apparently you do that if Russia's involved, or you walk away. Now I thought walk away was the wisest move, because then they would have to come to us. I believe no deal could work. I believe it because there are enough countries begging to trade with us, and I believe we could get that all in place quick enough to offset the damage. And there would be some. There's no denying it. So the vote happened, and again the government lost. The deal was rejected. The margin was lesser, but the government lost nonetheless. Theresa May then tabled, or mentioned, the government's intention to table 2 motions, and these bug me. The first is today they're going to be debating whether they should accept no deal. The problem with this is the majority of MPs are Remain voters. They will vote against no deal, but no deal is an inevitability if on March 29th we do not have a deal. It is not something you can avoid unless you have the power to stop time itself, which many argue is a social construct, so it's possible. Maybe just get a remote and hit pause. Who knows? Maybe we'll stop rotating around the sun. The point is, MPs will not vote in favour of accepting a no deal. It is a worthless debate where only mostly Brexiteers will vote in favour of it. And they're doing this on purpose. This is no longer running down the clock. This is now MPs doing what is in their own interest. It's not a tinfoil hat theory. The next is that they extend Article 50. Now this would happen tomorrow. MPs will then meet up, debate it, discuss it, and if they decide to, they would then ask the government if voting in favour of extending Article 50 by 3 months, I believe. Then the government has to request it, which is where a problem arises. Because you can hedge your bets on this, but the EU has already said a second chance is the last chance, because let's face it, 11th hour and everything. But also, they have no real reason to renegotiate anything because nothing can be renegotiated. They believe the deal that we have given them, or we have agreed to, is the best deal on the table. It is a trash deal, I agree, but it is the best deal that we can get. I don't agree with the deal either, by the way, and I should say it now. No deal is reasonably the only option left. However, if the government, and to get back on track, if we do extend Article 50 or don't, then there's another issue, because either we go with no deal, or Brexit doesn't happen. Jeremy Corbyn, in his statement after the government lost, said he wanted another general election. He's not going to get it. That will not change anything. You cannot have one in the space of 16 days, install a new government, and then somehow manage to renegotiate everything, because many are pushing for a people's vote on this, which would also remove leaving as an option on that. There will not be a second referendum. There cannot be a second referendum if you respect democracy. Those of you within that chamber, the House of Commons, have a duty to uphold the will of the people, and it was a vote that was against the establishment. It was very much against you. You must respect it. You must do what we ask of you. We voted you in, we can vote you out. If you betray the people that voted you in, the majority that chose to leave especially, then you are not fit for office.